Okay, we're live. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome back to another edition of Weekly Career Class. And my name is Shang, and I'll be your host for today. Today, we're joined by Mrs. Shipra Lall, who's an expert career counselor with over 5 years of experience and have mentored hundreds of students and specializes in the field of law. And today, she'll be talking about law as a career pathway. So, thank you so much for joining us today, ma'am, and welcome to our Weekly Career Class.
Thank you, Shifan, for the lovely introduction. Hello, students, and thank you for joining in today. Today, 1 month to go before the one of the biggest exams of law, we are going to talk about law in detail. What is law as a career? What all does it take to crack the law exam? What are the for the qualifications, the skill sets, the future of law? We are going to talk in detail about all these things. Without delaying further, let me quickly take you through what we are going to cover, and we'll start the session. The agenda for today, very simply, we will first try to understand what is law. And then we will cover what are the eligibilities, desired skills to pursue law as a career. We will talk about the various entrance exams. Like I said, one of the biggest exams is around the corner, just 1 month to go, which is the CLAT. And we're going to talk in detail about CLAT. Then we'll also talk about the specializations in law. After pursuing your law LLB, what are the specializations that you can opt for in your post-graduation or your LLM? And lastly, we will give you some quick tips to clear one of these entrance exams that you must be aspiring. Can we begin, Shivang?
Absolutely. We can do it.
Sure. All right. So first things first, what is law? Law, in the simplest terms, it is the set of rules and regulations that a governing body would enforce on the society in terms of its behavior and actions. So there is a rule book. There is a rule book that the government has defined, the Constitution of India, and certain set rules for different aspects of life. For example, driving, for example, various behavioral issues in different situations of life. Those set of rules are the law that we have to abide by, and in case we do not, there is an enforcement. So when we say enforcement, there is a attached punishment to every law. The enforcement, the entire system is called the law and order. And in terms of what it means to me as a society, it is my rights. It is what is the correct thing for me, what are my rights, and how I can use those rights, in my everyday behavior. The study of all these rules and regulations, all the ordinances that have been issued for our behavior and actions is called the study of law. So that is simply put what law is all about. If we want to pursue a career in law, what is it that I have to do? If you think I have a passion that I want to be a part of this judicial system, of this entire legal system, what is it that I will have to do? That is what the eligibility, qualifications, and the skill sets I must pursue. So the first thing, what is the qualification? The educational degree that I will have to complete is called the LLB, Bachelor of Legislative Law. I will have to complete the LLB degree to be able to pursue my career in the legal field as any of the options available. LLB is the must. And
Right.
LLB, when do I complete LLB? It can be completed after graduation and even after 12th. LLB in itself is a 3-year course, but after 12th, there is an option of completing an integrated program in in law, which is a 5-year program. You save on 1 year. Otherwise, you will have to do a normal graduation for 3 years and then LLB for 3 years, which means 6 years in all. But if you plan to pursue LLB or the integrated law program after class 12, you save on 1 year, because the integrated law program is after 12 is for 5 years.
Right.
So, like I said, it is available as a 3-year program or a 5-year integrated UG law program. Who can apply? Is it only for humanities? Is it only for commerce students? Well, that is a myth that only humanities students can apply. It is a stream neutral course. Even the science students apply for law as a course, And as data, we have seen that approximately 40% students who apply for law are actually from the science background. So this is actually a stream neutral course, and anyone can apply for the UG law programs after class 12 or after graduation. We have also seen students after completing their BSc in the normal science programs, their graduation in the normal science programs, apply for the LLB program after graduation. So a lot of career switches do happen, but you're lucky if you've decided that you want to do this after class 12. And this, like I said, this is open for all courses. Humanity students do get an advantage because there are a lot of courses, a lot of subjects that humanity students, for example, Pol Science, that he will study in his class 12, which will help in his studies for law. But there is no hard and fast rule. There is no stopping anyone else from applying for this course. Last but not the least, there is no age limit to apply for this course. So if you have decided to to pursue this course after 12th, you might actually be seeing students or participants who would have completed their graduations, post graduations, and even have an experience of few years, and they still want to pursue career in law after after years of experience. So there is no upper age limit. Anyone can apply for a law course at any age. The only eligibility qualification is that you must have completed your 10+2 with a bare minimum of 50% for a normal category student, and for SC/ST it is at 45%. That is the only qualification to apply for the normal CLAT exams and the entrance exams that we're going to talk about.
Yes,
so this was about the eligibility and the qualifications.
Right. And ma'am, before we move further, I would just like to remind our audiences who joined us today that if they wish to ask any questions to ma'am and want answers to any of the questions that they have regarding law and careers in law, please feel free to ask them in the chat box, and we'll be answering them live. We'll be taking all questions that you ask towards the end of the session. So we'll be answering all your questions there. So please go ahead and ask your questions in the chat box. Thank you so much. Please continue, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you. You can definitely ask your questions in the chat box, and we'll be taking them at the end, towards the end of the session. Okay, right. So we were talking about what are the skill sets. So like I said, it is an open for all exam. Anyone who scored 50% marks in the 10+2 can apply. But who should apply? While it is open for all, but do you think you are the right person who will make good in law as a career? To be successful in law as a career, what are the core competencies you should have? That is what we're going to cover here. So first is critical thinking. Do you enjoy critical thinking? If there is a situation, if you're given a situation, can you analyze the entire situation critically in terms of the pros and cons of the entire situation, in terms of the options, solutions given? You have to look at the situation from all aspects, critically analyze what happened, why it happened, how it happened, what could have happened. So all of these things, if you can analyze critically, if you enjoy doing these things critically, that is the skill set, a very important critical skill set, which a good lawyer should possess. So anyone can become a lawyer, but if you want to be successful, if you want to be a good successful lawyer, then you should be able to enjoy these things. Problem solving, given a situation, can you suggest good solutions to the problem? Can you analyze the entire situation from various perspectives? Can you listen to the entire minute, finest details given in the situation? So you have to be able to reason the pros and cons. If you are saying that something has this solution, you have to provide a valid reason, a justification for that solution also. And you should be able to say that with confidence. You need to have good oratory skills. You should be able to present that with persuasiveness and perseverance. So these are the few beyond the educational qualification, these are the competencies that you should have in case you want to pursue a good career in law. So to be successful in law, you can complete law, but to be successful, if you have these inherent skills, you will definitely succeed. So talking about these are the skill sets we've spoken about. Now, if you have decided that yes, I possess these skills and I want to appear for my law entrance exams, what are the entrance exams that I should appear? Right. So this is the list of the major law entrance exams that are present in India. The first and the biggest is CLAT, which is the Common Law Admission Test that we've been talking about. There is exactly 1 month to go for this exam, and this is for the admission into the best universities of India for law, the national law universities. So right now there are, I'm sure you all know, there are approximately 26 national law universities. Until last year, there were 23, and 3 new NLUs have been just recently added this year. So right now, of these entire 26 NLUs, 22 NLUs are participating in the CLAT 2024. And we expect the newer NLUs also to accept the CLAT scores for their admission process. However, the official website clearly states that 22 NLUs are participating in the CLAT 2024 this year. So the top NLUs, if you want, that is the best universities to pursue your law career, are the national law universities. If you want to appear, or if you want to study from these NLUs, the only exam that you have to clear is the Common Law Admission Test, the CLAT. We are going to talk about this in detail in just a few minutes from now. Besides this CLAT, there is another exam, ALET. This is for the NLU Delhi. Specifically for NLU Delhi, there is a separate exam which is called the All India Law Entrance Test for National Law University, Delhi. The exam pattern for all these exams would be more or less similar. We are going to talk about that also. Besides these, there are also some private universities, for example, Symbiosis and Christ universities. So all these private universities, they also have their own entrance exams. Symbiosis, the SLAT, Symbiosis Law Admission Test, is one of the most prominent tests that will happen in May next year. The CLAT and ALET are going to happen in December this year for admission to the next academic session, but the SLAT exam will happen in May next year. Besides this, the CUET, which has become one of the biggest exams, there are a lot of universities, state universities and central universities that also offer undergraduate programs in law. And the central universities, the state universities are going to accept the score CUET. Christ University is also one of them which are going to accept the CUET scores. The CUET exam will happen again in May next year. Besides that, there are some state level exams. For example, Maharashtra Common Entrance Exam for a lot of universities are in and around Maharashtra. The law programs, the exam will be called MHCET, the Maharashtra Common Entrance Test. And similarly, we have LSAT India for other private, private colleges of law. For example, the UPES and the Jindals and all. So the exam pattern, like I said, the more or less the exam pattern for all these major tests is going to be same. All of these exams are going to test your reading comprehension, the first and the foremost, reading comprehension. So you'll be given a passage, then you will be given a few questions associated with that passage. In English, there'll be a normal scenario, normal fiction scenario for 450 words to 600 words, and you will be asked questions around that passage only. Similarly, there'll be logical reasoning. Okay, sorry, you're saying something, Shwang?
No, I'm not. Please.
Okay. So similarly, for logical reasoning, legal reasoning, general awareness, and quantitative aptitude. So almost all the exams, CLAT, ALET, SLAT, Maharashtra CET, CUET, all of these exams will revolve around the same set of categories. Reading comprehension, logical reasoning, legal reasoning. Legal reasoning is not a part of ALET. Very clear distinction between ALET and CLAT. The legal reasoning is not a part of ALET. Besides this, quantitative aptitude is also not a part of ALET. It is a part of CLAT.
Right.
So talking about CLAT in detail, like I said, it is exactly 1 month from now. December 3rd is the date that has been announced already for the CLAT 2024. It is for an admission to 22 law universities. It is conducted by consortium of NLUs for approximately 3,200 seats. The mode of exam will be offline. Unlike the normal trend of online exam these days, this is a paper and pen exam. So you will be required to go to a center, fill in the OMR sheet with the pen. So it is not an online paper wherein you will have to just select the correct answer. You will have to fill in the OMR sheet. It's a complete paper and pen exam. It'll be a passage-based MCQ. So the entire CLAT is going to be, it will have somewhere around 15 to 16 passages and spread across different sections. You'll have to read that passage carefully and then answer the associated questions. The number of questions has changed from last year. Until last year, we used to have 150 questions that were to be answered in 2 hours, which is 120 minutes. But from this year onwards, we are going with 120 questions that will be answered in 120 minutes. So there'll be a +1 for a right answer and -0.25 for the wrong answer. Right. Now, when I say 120 questions we have reduced the number of questions from 150 to 120. Does that mean that the minimum cutoff will also go down? Well, the answer is no. We should still target a minimum of 95 plus in these exams, because until last year also, while we say that the number of questions were 150, but not all students, not many students for that matter, were able to complete the 150 questions. So the average is that people used to answer 100 plus questions. 120 answer, the students used to answer 120 were the students who eventually made it to the top 5 NLUs. So because of this trend, because of this data, the consortium decided to reduce the number of questions, but the difficulty level is not going to reduce. The difficulty level is going to remain the same. Just to give you a brief about the numbers, roughly about 60,000 students apply to CLAT every year. And like I said, there are only 3,200 plus seats. So the acceptance rate to the top NLUs is actually only 2 to 3%. And if you want to make it to the top 10 NLUs, so it is actually 1%. So the exam that is actually going to be difficult, and we really need to study hard to ensure that we are able to make it to the top NLUs. Besides the NLUs, the scores are also accepted by other private universities. Like I said, this is just a few examples of the other universities who take the CLAT scores. First is Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, Nirma University, NMIS Mumbai, and the IIM Rohtak. IIM Rohtak also has a law program. A lot of people don't know about it, but IIM, Indian Institute of Management, in their Gurgaon campus, they also offer a program in law. Okay, so now talking about the big exam, CLAT 2024. First things first, the last date to apply for this exam has been extended. This has been announced yesterday. The initial date was November 10th. November 3rd was the initial date to apply for CLAT 2024, but it has been extended to November 10th. The exam date is already announced. The exam will happen on December 3rd, 2023. So in case you really want to pursue, this is one of the most important exams that you just cannot afford to miss. You still have 1 week's time. Please go ahead and fill this form. If you fill this form, you have 1 month in hand. That 1 month you will have to really work hard to be able to clear the CLAT 2024. So once again, the last date has been extended. Please take use of this opportunity and apply for this exam in case you want to pursue a career in law. This is one exam that you cannot miss. Talking about the breakup of questions, like I said, all these questions, all these exams, there are the same sections, more or less the same sections in all the exams. But what is the percentage of which section? This is a detail about the CLAT segregation, the CLAT bifurcation. So in CLAT, in the common law admission test, the reading comprehension is about 20% of the paper. And the most important 2 sections are the general knowledge, including the current affairs, and the legal reasoning. That cover about 25% each for both the sections. When I say general knowledge and current affairs, general knowledge is actually static general knowledge, which is not going to change. Including current affairs is the current topics of interest to government, to law, and anything that is of national importance. That will be covered in the current affairs. Besides this, in legal reasoning, when we say legal reasoning, you really don't need to know the laws. You just need to have an aptitude of the legal system. If you have that app, because this is also comprehension based, this is also a passage based, you will be given a passage, and in that passage you will be asked what, as per the passage, what is inferred, what are the facts that have been mentioned. So around those facts only you will be asked some legal comprehension questions, but you don't really need to know the exact law around that topic. Besides this, there'll be a quantitative technique questions that will be roughly about 10% of the questions. So 10 to 14 questions. So a lot of students mistake here. They actually falter here by saying that quantitative techniques is going to be maths, and I am not so great in maths. So I would want to rather skip this question, quantitative techniques. But quantitative techniques is actually, if you ask me, the make it or break it situation, because a lot of students will actually skip this. There are only about 10 to 14 questions, will be again fact based. So there'll be some data or some graphs presented, and you will be asked questions around that. The maths involved in these quantitative techniques will be the maths of roughly class 10th or class 10th level. So it is not going to be a very difficult maths for you. It is just a matter of some practice. So you should you should not skip this quantitative technique section, because this is simple maths that you can, with some practice, you should be able to crack the quantitative techniques also. So, of all these questions, if I talk, it is all about, the biggest thing is about comprehension. The biggest thing is about reading. So one is reading. You just go through and read each and every word. And second thing is about comprehension. Comprehension means what you actually understood of what you read. So inferring what is mentioned, what is the main message that the author is going to give, or the author is trying to give, what are the different facts given in the entire passage. So comprehending the entire things, the finest details in one go. When you read, if you are able to comprehend the facts and the message presented, that is a key differentiator. And more or less all the sections will talk about the comprehension part. Besides the general knowledge, actually general knowledge is facts, completely facts that you should be aware on top of your mind.
Right.
Besides this, if we talk about what are the career options, if you are able to complete law as a career, if you're able to crack CLAT, and after 5 years you come out as a law graduate, then what are the possible options that you can pursue? So the first and the foremost, the most common, is the litigation. When we say litigation, so litigation is actually appearing and fighting for your cases, for your clients in the courtroom. So if you are, for this, you will have to actually be aware of all the laws around the various topics. You can definitely specialize in one of the acts, in one of the particular fields, but you should be aware of all the laws, and you should be able to present them in the courtroom with confidence and with all the facts. That is what litigation is all about. That is the most common career option available for law graduates, that we normally assume कि यही होगा कि हम लोग courtroom में court case fight करेंगे. But besides this, there are a lot of other options available. For example, the judicial services. So judicial services, after clearing your graduation, your bachelor's LLB, immediately after your LLB, you can appear for judicial services also. So there is no experience required. Only if you are a LLB, a law graduate, you can appear for judicial services, the entry level judicial services, the district level magistrate options. But obviously, if you want to appear for some higher level judge, then there is an experience required. You should have an experience working as a lawyer for X number of years. So different levels, Supreme Court lawyer, High Court lawyer, different levels, there is a different eligibility. But the option of getting into the judicial services is available immediately after you complete your law graduation.
Right.
So this is one of the very promising career options. You should definitely try for this. Besides this, what are the other forms of career options that are available after law? So one like we said is the courtroom practice, the litigation. Second is a white collar job, which is the corporate counsel. It's a very popular. It's becoming a very popular option these days. So there are a lot of MNCs, a lot of organizations, and all the organizations have to comply to various ordinances that are there, various regulations that are there in place. So every organization needs to have a legal person to represent them and to ensure the compliances are there. So if you do not want to be a litigation lawyer, if you do not want to present in the courtrooms, this is a very good white collar job available for all the law graduates. You can get into any MNC. So there are mergers, acquisitions, there are corporate laws that you need to master, and you should be able to do. You can get into an MNC as a corporate counsel. Besides this, there are law firms that you can join. Law firms, again, it's a white collar job. Their law firms would be primarily mean a group of people working together, and they can specialize in various fields. So we'll talk about the specializations also. So a law firm will normally be able to offer all kind of solutions to any kind of legal situation. So they will require people from different specializations. So you can join one of the law firms. Besides this, you can work in social services, in human rights, and last but not the least, you can be into media. If you can be a good orator, you want to be updated with you are someone who enjoys being in the current affairs, then you can also join media and become a legal journalist. Besides this, also there are options of getting into teaching. So a lot of law people, if you pursue further a PhD into law, you can be a faculty member in one of these law schools that I have been talking about. So this is about what are the future options available. And when I talk about specializations, what are the specializations that you can do? First is the criminal law. Criminal law is the normal by definition. किसी ने कुछ गलत कर दिया, which is not as per the rules and regulations set by the government. कुछ crime किया है. If you want to get in, if you want to defend that, if you want to enforce that is what a criminal lawyer will do. So you can specialize in criminal law. So different kind of crimes you'll have to be updated. Corporate law, like I said, corporate law is there, and companies, there are a lot of enforcements. If you can specialize in the Companies Act complete, then you become a corporate lawyer. Constitution law, this is a very important intellectual property law that is becoming very popular. So a lot of copyright issues. So if I have an idea and I have developed a product, if it is my thought and I copyright it, my imagination, my thoughts, I get it registered, it becomes my intellectual property. And anything around saving that intellectual property from it getting forged or duplicated or replicated comes under Intellectual Property Act. So you can specialize in that also. Besides this, a lot of in current digital age, a lot of crimes are happening around the cyber world. So anything and everything around the digital world, if there are any scams happening, all of these will get covered under the cyber law. You can specialize in cyber law as well. Then we have labor law. Labor law is about the entire law, the rules and regulations defined for the work culture. Ki hamara, what are my rights as an employee will all covered under the labor law. And civil law and taxation law, the name defines it all. Civil law is my overall behavior. So if the overall behavior has to be is defined as per this norm, you have to comply. And if I do not comply, what are my rights, what are my duties? That all that is covered under civil law and taxation law. So this was all about what law can get to you. Now we have spoken about CLAT as an exam. We've spoken about ALA. We have spoken about the eligibility, the future prospects. Now, like I said, CLAT, the biggest exam, is 1 month round the corner. And if you have not yet applied, you can apply if the date has been extended. Now, what do you do in the last 1 month to ensure that you can clear the exam. Now we're going to talk about very quickly some quick tips that you should do in the last 1 month to be able to crack law exam. So like I've been saying again and again, the CLAT test is all about reading and comprehension. So the biggest thing that you need to understand is that and improve on is your reading skills. Sorry. So reading skills, when I say, it is not only your reading speed, it is also your comprehension skills. In the CLAT paper, you will have to read roughly about 20,000 words, because every passage will be around 450 words, and there'll be roughly about 15-16 passages that you will have to read. So the entire paper is going to be about 20,000 words. If you have to improve your reading skills, not only your reading speed but your reading skills, to be able to clear the CLAT paper with the minimum cutoff of 95 score that I've been talking about. So you have to, in the next 1 month, what you should do is you should read newspapers, you should read editorial articles, you should read a lot of books, fictional, and ensure that your reading skills improve. When I say reading newspapers and be updated with the current affairs also, I would personally recommend that you go in the reverse order. So now that the exam is in December, you should actually start reading from November current affairs and then go backwards, November and October and September, and reverse order, because the most important questions will come from the current months only. So start reading, and every day you should invest minimum 2 to 3 hours only reading and improving your reading skills. That is your tip number one, because that is the entire crux of the entire exam. Besides this, some quick tips for CLAT 2024. First is, a lot of students don't really know that the consortium also releases a sample paper. So if you go to the official website of the Consortium of India, Consortium of NLUs, you will see that they have released a sample paper. This is the first sample paper that you should attempt. Please go ahead and attempt this question paper, this sample paper, and then analyze where you stand. This sample paper you cannot miss. Besides that, another very important tip is that you should practice mocks. A lot of people tell you that you should practice mocks, but the important thing is that you should practice the mock at the same time that the exam is supposed to happen. The exam happens from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. every year. So you should give the mock at the same time, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. only. Whenever you're giving the exam, try giving the exam at the same time, because this helps set your body cycle. So your body, if you are used to sleeping at that time, or if you are used to eating at that time, your body gets set eventually. So try giving the mocks at the same time. Your mind will be active then, and you will be able to be most productive on the final day if you practice mocks on the same time. Next, a lot of students falter on this. Like I've said, this exam is a paper and pen exam. You will have to fill in the OMR sheet. A lot of students do not know how to fill OMR sheets, and I have seen some brilliant students faltering on this, and they just skip one digit here or there, and they're not able to make it to the final exam. So practice filling the OMR sheets also. You should know how to do that. And last but not the least, so we have another thing, which is revise current affairs every day. Every day you have to read, like we have been saying. And last but not the least, we have to say that you relax on December 2nd, which is the last day before the exam. One day before the exam, you should just relax and then give your best shot on the next day. That is it from my side. This is all that is there for CLAT 2024. All the best, and I am open to questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
I think that was very crisp and
yes, but you've been
quick
very
half an
insightful.
hour.
In fact, there's a lot of things that you covered that we don't usually, think about or don't usually pay much head to. In fact, there's a lot of important tips and tricks that you shared there. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
We have a bunch of questions in the chat box that we'll be taking up right now. And before we do, to our audiences, thank you so much for listening to us, and thank you for paying attention for as long as you could. While you do that, there's a QR code on your screen right now that you can see. Please make sure that you scan that, and Once you do that, you'll get redirected to our web app where you get to an option to talk to a counselor to get more clarity in what your career pathway should be and how you should go about that. So please go ahead and scan that QR code and ask your queries right away on that web app. And for this session, please, if you haven't already, please go ahead and ask your question in the chat box and we'll be answering them live. So the first question is by Manu Kansal. And the question is, at the age of 43, can they be eligible to apply since they have a BE degree on them and a professional since 23 years old now? So could they apply for the CLAT exam or could they be, pursuing law as an education at this juncture of their lives?
Well, thank you for the question, Manu. The answer is definitely yes. You can apply for the integrated program, the CLAT. Definitely, you can apply. There is no age limit. The only qualification is 10 plus 2 with 50% marks if you are a general category student. That being said, at a middle age, 45 years, if you want to pursue studies and if you believe strongly that you have all those inherent qualities that we have mentioned, you have apt for all these things, you have a logical mind, analytical reasoning, you should definitely try. You'll be competing with youngsters, which is a different story, but that is absolutely okay. If you have a passion towards the legal system, you can definitely try for this exam. There is no stopping. Like I said, the last date has been extended. Please go ahead and apply. And also for the Delhi NLU, the last date is 13th of November. I missed telling that initially. The ALET exam, which is another big exam, if you want to apply for that also, the last date is 13th of November and the exam will be on 10th of December. You should apply for that also.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer, ma'am. They do have, like, Manu does have a follow-up question, which is what are the topmost law schools in India?
The topmost law schools are the NLUs. So the NLUs, NLU Hyderabad, Bangalore, these are the best NLUs that we have. So if you want, I can just put the top NLUs list in the chat box. Give me 1 minute. I can do that. Sure. And so you can actually, simply Google it also. The NLU Hyderabad is one of the best. NLU Bangalore is the next. So there is a 26 NLUs there and there is a ranking of all these NLUs. I will just share the link in the chat box.
Awesome. And while you do that, it's Foxy says that I'm good समझ नहीं आया पर सुनकर अच्छा लगा. It's Foxy. Sorry? If you still, it's Foxy is an individual who joined us live today.
Okay.
And they said that कुछ समझ नहीं आया पर सुनकर अच्छा लगा. So if you're still watching us, it's Foxy. Please go ahead and ask your questions. I'm sure अगर समझ नहीं आया तो we'll be able to explain it to you really well. So if you're still joining us, you're still watching us, please go ahead and ask your questions in the chat box and we'll be answering them right away. Another question from Manu is that he's a bit confused about the terminology. So what's the difference between a lawyer, an advocate, and a barrister, or are they all the same thing?
No, there is a technical difference between a lawyer and an advocate. So the advocate would actually be someone who would be appearing in the courtrooms, who would be a bar council member and appearing in the courtrooms. And a lawyer could be anyone who's just working in the law firms, who's providing the counseling to different legal aspects, and who can be a self-practicing lawyer or a company corporate lawyer.
I think we lost you because you're not audible.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we spoke about advocate. A lawyer is someone who practices law but doesn't necessarily appear in courts, right? And how about a barrister? How does a barrister differ from the two?
Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, so like I said, a legal practitioner who would appear in the courtroom is a lawyer, is an advocate. Yeah. And give me 1 second. So you have to be a bar council member. Whereas if you have studied in the UK, in England, then is what you become a barrister. So you have to have studied from UK, England, then you become a barrister.
And someone who studied in the UK can practice law in India?
There is a bar council exam that you'll have to give, a final bar council exam, which is a very simple exam. You should be able to clear if you have studied. Then you become a bar council member of India and you can practice law in India as well.
Got it. And that is primarily because like the two laws are quite similar in their structure.
Absolutely. They're
Right.
quite similar, but obviously because of the cultural differences, there are a lot of, minor changes in the
Right.
application of each law. So you have to clear the Indian Bar Council the exam as well if you want to practice in India.
Right. And another question that we have is by Amit, who asked that what are the options to practice law in the US if they study in India?
If they have studied in India,
Yeah.
then you will have to appear for their entrance exam. Even the LSAT, if you appear for LSAT exam in India,
Right.
you will be able to, finally practice in the US. But LSAT is the eligibility criteria. LSAT you'll
Right.
have to give.
And like what countries, just take an addition to that question, this is coming from my end, which is what countries can one practice law in if they have studied in India?
Major countries you can participate, but almost all the countries have this final one exam that you will have to
Like
clear to
will require
practice
you'll be
in.
required to
You'll be required to clear that one exam of that particular country.
right. So a bar will be required regardless.
A bar council membership, so you will have to clear that particular test.
Okay.
Otherwise, majorly you'll be able to actually practice in almost all the countries.
Great. Awesome. So we've kind of run out of questions. So if there's any other question that you'd like to ask us, please go ahead and ask those in the chat box and we'll be answering them live. We can take a few more questions. So we'll just wait for like more questions to show up. Please go ahead and ask any more questions that you may have. I think we've run out of questions. I don't think there's any more questions. Uh, in that case, what I would suggest to our viewers is to, in case you have any more questions or would like to ask us any questions and don't have them right away, what you can do is, okay, there is a question. Right? So Amit again asked that, could you please elaborate more on the LSAT, what it is and how one can apply for it?
Okay, sure. So LSAT is, I will just take you through the LSAT details. 1 second. LSAT is actually an exam for, global acceptance. It has got a global acceptance. So it is, the 1 second. I will have to give you for better details on this. 1 minute, please.
Sure. And while ma'am takes her time to, explain or elucidate further on LSAT, if you have any other questions, please go ahead and ask those in the chat box.
So Shivank, I'm sorry, I missed the question on LSAT. What was the exact question?
They just wanted to know more about LSAT essentially.
So LSAT is primarily a global exam, like I said, but LSAT India can be, can be given after your graduation. So you have to be a graduate, 10 plus 2 plus 3 from a recognized university to be able to complete this exam. And but you will be able to, once you've cleared this exam, you will become a global lawyer, and then you'll be able to practice in many of the countries. And but the minimum qualifying marks are 45%. Again, 45% for SC and SCs, the reserved categories, in your graduation, and 55% for the normal category students. So
Okay. Another question that we have is from Vaya, who asked that what are the merits of being a corporate lawyer?
The merits of being a corporate lawyer, very simply, one, it is a white collar job. I'm sorry, I missed the name. This is Vaya.
Vaya. Yeah.
Okay. So, while there is a myth that, this is a good option for females, because, I asked the name specifically because I sense that it is a female name. But, there is a myth around this that it's a more suitable option for females, but it is a more of a white collar job. So you will go to your office every day regular and come back on time, and you will not be required to appear in the courtrooms. You will not be required to deal with criminals as such per se. So in that sense, you'll be dealing with a more niche kind of a people. You will be dealing only with the compliances of the organization that you work with. And if there is a serious legal case for the organization, you would be hiring another consultants, another legal organization. You could be doing that. So this becomes a more niche. But the corporate law, like I said, it is about compliances to the organization, the legal aspects, the legal compliances of the organization in terms of the various laws. So government compliances, you'll be very, it's very niche kind of a profile. That is the only difference, the pros and cons. And the exposure is global. You can work in any organization once you enter the corporate law. You can work, there are, it's not industry specific. So industry wise, you can work in any industry. You can be in pharmacy, you can work in FMCG, you can work in any kind of organization, because the legal compliances, statutory compliance will be more or less the same. Obviously, there'll be specifics in regards to the industry, but more or less the arrangements will be the same. So that is the pros and cons. It's a white collar job, and you will not be dealing with a different, very crime or criminal kind of organized people.
Second, ma'am, I think I shared my screen by accident. Let me just go back to that screen. Right. I guess that's all the questions that we have. In case we have, I think we can take one more. Folks, if you have any more questions, please go ahead and ask us in the chat box. I think that's all the questions that we had, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much to our audiences for joining us, tuning in today for today's session. Once again, if you want to ask more questions and want to know more about law and any other careers that you are interested in, please go ahead and scan that QR code, and our counselors will answer all your questions there. And you'll be redirected to the web app, and you'll be able to speak to a counselor right away. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful and such helpful session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. And if you have any other questions, like he said, please scan the code and you can ask any of your questions directly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.